It's not easy. It's not a I did it so you can do it too type situation. It is very, very difficult, especially when you are set up to fail. And a lot of people with trauma are set up to fail. And a lot of people with autism are not given the support they need to succeed. So it is incredibly hard. And I don't want to take away from that from anybody. However, I do want to say there are some things that can make it a little bit better. I'd rather keep it real with ya. Hey everybody, it's me, Minu, back with another video. This is what I've been wearing today. I like it. I think it's real low key. I like that I have this, you see? I have this skull jacket on, but I'm also underneath it wearing my my Japanese Friday the 13th shirt. I like it, but I'm gonna take this off because I'm at home and I'm hot. But while I take my hair down and care for my hair, I wanted to share with you guys a few things about how I'm measuring success as somebody with trauma and autism. I'd love to make this autism specific or trauma specific, but I can't because I can't separate those two in my brain. They're kind of mixed together, so I got to talk about both of them. And then the other thing I wanted to share is just some of the accomplishments that I've had over the past not few weeks, but over the past week or so, basically. If you guys have not checked out the horror channel, please go do so. I'm going to be putting up I've recorded so much content. I just need to edit, which is my biggest struggle. I just got to edit the damn video so that it can go up at that time. But I've got some great stuff in the pipeline that I'm super excited to share as soon as I can get them edited and get them uploaded. But anyway, the only reason that I am where I am is because I go to therapy, is because I fought to get a good quality therapist who is supporting me through all of these different life goals. I know a lot of you have trouble with finding a good therapist. I've had friends who've had bad therapists. I've had bad therapists and I've fired them and gone on to find another therapist. I've gone through several therapists before I got to the morticians say they're doing so. I've gone through several therapists before I got to the one that is actually has trauma of their own, is neurodivergent themselves, has similar traumas to me, but also has managed to survive and thrive. And they figured out all the tips and tricks to help them survive and thrive. And they use those tips and tricks to help me survive and thrive and to train other therapists to help their patients survive and thrive. So I'm very lucky to have found the therapist that I currently have. She is amazing. And like I said, she trains other therapists to be as good with trauma as she is. She has like a 2-year waiting list. So I was very lucky to get in when I did to see her. I don't want it to seem like, ooh, I have such bad trauma. If you've been following the channel long enough, you've seen this growth that I've gone through in terms of how I live my life and the things that I do and the accomplishments. But if you're new to the channel, if you're new to me, even over the past few months, it may seem like, oh, she just got it all down. You're so much up here. I'm way back here. How do I deal with this way back here? I cannot be your therapist, but therapy is what helps me get through this. And I tell people over and over again, I've had bad therapists. I've had the type of therapists who were running to my mom everything because I was a teenager and they felt that they needed to do that. Or I was a child and they felt that they needed to tell my mom everything. I have had those people and I don't talk to those people, but having a therapist as an adult who does not have to tell anybody anything about what you two talk about is very helpful because it helps you feel safe enough to open up about the things that you struggle with. It took me a while with my current therapist, I'd say, and even my therapist knows this. She said, it takes like a year of seeing the therapist consistently for people with trauma to like feel like, oh, this is actually a safe space. Because you're not going to feel that within the first few sessions or the first few months. It takes like a year to feel like I can open up about some of the things that I'm scared of or I'm ashamed of. My therapist has helped me a lot in terms of adulting, basically. How do I adult? How do I get my finances in order? Because I think a lot of people think when you go to therapy, you can only talk about your trauma or mental health. No, I've gone to my therapist and said, how do I open a bank account? What do I do about this anxiety about opening a bank account? How am I supposed to get a car so I can drive myself and not have to be dependent on my mom? what's a credit score? Like, you know what I mean? Like, my therapist has turned me on to like farmers markets where I could get organic produce that's actually helpful. She's talked to me a lot about like the holistic stuff and different supplements that can help neurodivergent people's mental health, about eating better, about how do I overcome executive dysfunction when it comes to doing stuff and taking care of myself. Because sometimes I go through modes where I can't chop. I can't chop. Something in my brain just says, I cannot chop. Don't pick up that knife. You not chopping nothing. And I've gone to her with this and I'm like, I want to eat, but I can't chop. And she'll be like, oh yeah, that happens to people sometimes. Here's a way to get around that. And she told me about vegetable choppers where you just push the thing down and it chops the food. And I'm just like, didn't even know it existed. Now I have something to help me deal with the chopping executive dysfunction. Because sometimes there's some things just don't work. And your brain will just say no sometimes. And that's okay. But having someone who's been there, done that, and can help you find ways to navigate around that. Another thing that I can't do, I struggle a lot with washing dishes by hand because of the touching the food. It gives me the ick. So having a dishwasher, having a one of them scrubbers to scrub things, having sponges, having gloves so I don't have to touch it. She helps me find ways around that. And it's really, really helpful to have somebody like that. So again, if you guys are struggling to find a therapist, check out the videos I've done in the mental health group, in the mental health playlist, where I have spoken about what to look for when looking for a good therapist, all the things to consider, how to take control, take charge of your therapy sessions, because therapy is about you. It's not about the therapist. So it should be about you and whatever you want to talk about. And, a lot of things to look out for and what makes a bad therapist. I have talked about all of that on this channel. So please, please, please go check that out. So where I am at this point, what my therapist has helped me do, she's helped me find cat sitters so that I could drive to the new city to look at apartments and like sign up for apartments. She's helped me, sometimes she's brought me food. Sometimes she's helped me like fight my dissociation because I'm a strong dissociator. I'm at the point where I will even choose to dissociate because sometimes to me it just feels better than being overstimulated and awake. I'm a strong dissociator. My cats can sense when I'm dissociating. My therapist has taught me tips and tricks on how to fight the dissociation because she also dissociates a lot. Teaching me things about safety, teaching me things about, how to make friends. My therapist has actually tried to connect me with other people, organically and ethically, of course, but she's connected me with other people that she's worked with who she thinks would be good friends for me. Like, she's helped me with a lot of things. So she is the reason that it's possible for me to even be where I am today in a new city, going for these huge milestones, because that's the thing. It's again, like I said in my last video, I've always been motivated by getting away from the pain, the suffering, the unsafety, you know what I mean? And never necessarily going anywhere. And she's kind of helped me be okay with that. You're surviving. If the goal is to survive, you're doing it. And I wouldn't have the job I had now if my therapist was not always encouraging me to go after things and telling me that I can make more money. I didn't know if I deserved to make a job to make money, And sometimes I would talk to like boomers and they'd be like, you think you really deserve to earn that much? And I'd be like, God damn, like why not? Shit, it's expensive out here. Living life is expensive, so you need a job that pays your bills. But one of the things that I had a thought that scared me and had me go run into my therapist to be like, please tell me I'm doing the right thing. My measure of what a good house was going to be was something that was better than what my parents had, either of my parents. And that thought scared me a little bit because when I was thinking about it and I was looking at houses, I thought about, the houses that I had grown up in. And I was like, well, it has to be better than that, and that kind of scared me a little bit because I started thinking back about like, okay, when I got my first job out of college, my first thought was like, oh, I'm making as much as one of my parents is making, When it came to getting into a good, once I got out of that mindset and I got into actually having a job I liked, it was like, oh, I need people who treat me better than they treat my mom at her job or my dad at his job. Which really nobody messes with my dad at his job because he's a very scary man, or doing better than my siblings who she, thinks is so better than me because they bend over backwards for her. And I was like starting to notice this pattern of like, oh, getting a car that's better than that car and all of these things. And I was like, oh my God, am I only choosing things or am I only going after things that are just better than what my mom or my dad or my siblings had? And that made me feel bad because I was like, that's not how it's supposed to be, right? But when I spoke to my therapist, she told me the only two options I have is survival or go stay with my mom or my dad or any of my family members. And you notice how those two don't sound like they're the same thing? Like one is literally survival and then the other one is living with people. But living with people, like moving in with my mom or dad or any of my family members, that's death. That's death. And even my therapist said that. That's death. Your mental health, when you are around people who have, done so many horrible things to you over your whole life, that's death. Because your mental health will falter, your physical health will falter. You will go back into survival mode. And also, too, these are people who don't want to see you succeed. So they're going to tell you that you're not going to be good. You're not going to have anything. Because my mother especially has always kind of primed me of this, like, you are going to fail at anything you want to do. And it's been really hard to get out of that mindset. And I was scared that I was still stuck in that mindset. But my therapist says there's two parts to it. Part of it is the natural progression as an adult of feeling like these are the next steps of adulthood, right? You get your own place, you get your own car, you get your own cats, you get a job you kind of like a little bit, you travel. These are just the things that we are taught are just natural elevation. But also too, it's a catch-22 because again, it's either survive or go be with them and then die. Like there's no other option here. So my survival and me trying to thrive and trying to make my life better in any way is always going to be in spite of the people who have abused me and have told me that I will always need them because I will never be good at anything or have any type of success really unless it was somehow tied to them and something they could take credit for. And I thought that was very interesting and I wanted to share with you guys because I feel like, if I was thinking this, other people are probably also thinking this, and it doesn't negate any of the things that I've done or that I've built for myself. Like I remember having to tell a boomer one time, like, I am who I am in spite of my upbringing and my family and my parents. I am not who I am because of them. So there's nothing for them to be proud of because they didn't do it. They didn't raise me to be the person that I am today. And that's why they're not proud. They're disappointed. And they're never going to be able to admit what the actual disappointment is. They're never going to be able to admit, I'm disappointed that you haven't gotten pregnant yet. You know what I mean? They're never going to admit, I'm disappointed that you're not addicted to substances. I'm disappointed that you are employed and making enough money to pay your own bills. I'm disappointed that you don't need me. They're never going to be able to say that. So, and I'm not expecting them to because I don't talk to them no more. I'm not expecting them to. But if I was to say to somebody, they're very disappointed in me right now. Not because I didn't become a lawyer or a doctor or someone famous. They're disappointed because I'm doing better than I ever could have done if I was still had them in my life. So everything that I do, everything that I accomplish is kind of in spite of the people who tried to convince me that I would always fail at everything. And that's okay. I was scared that it wasn't okay, but apparently it's okay. So shit, if you like it, I love it. I mean, if I like it, I love it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing with my hair right now, but I'm just trying to keep it moisturized because it'd be itching like right up in here. The other accomplishments that I wanted to talk about with you guys was just in terms of, these are just, whether it's the autism or the trauma, again, I don't know, but these are things that I consider a huge accomplishment. So one of the things that I considered was an accomplishment was I was going to get my allergy shots, as I do. And there's this white woman there. She's not that good at giving the shot. It always hurts, but she likes me. She likes me. So when I come in, she's like, "Oh my God, it's you." And we talk because she likes my style. She likes my clothes. She tells me that her son likes to dress like this. And so she always wants to, like, support him and buy him things that fits with his style. So she's always asking me, like, where I got things from. And I just happened to be talking to her randomly, and she mentioned the fact that her son was autistic. And I was like, "Your son's autistic?" And she was telling me about it. And then she said she's known since her son was a child that he was autistic, but she didn't find out. But her daughter is also autistic, but she didn't find out until she was an adult. So it led me, usually I'd be scared to say anything, but I felt comfortable enough after having seen this shot nurse for multiple months now to say, you know what, I'm autistic too. And I appreciate the stuff that you're telling me that you do to make sure that your son is, like, properly taken care of in school, because nobody gave a fuck about me. I needed support, but they was too busy trying to call me gifted and stuff. Like, I didn't need help and support in different situations. It's like, ooh, so cool. You're so smart. You read at such a high level, but also I'm gonna let all these kids bully you right in front of me because you're weird too. You're a weird kid, so I'm gonna let these other kids bully you. Is basically how my whole entire school operated from elementary to high school. So hearing how she goes to bat for them was very interesting. And she reacted very normally, which, because, sometimes I'd be scared, like, if I say something about autism to people, that they're going to look at me weird. But she reacted very normally. And she also ended up telling me that her husband is Black. And so her kids are mixed with Black. And she starts talking about the struggles that her kids faced within the Black side of the family, because Black people are not good about admitting that there's something wrong with their kid. And I was like, oh my God, like, that. Next thing I know, I'm standing here and I'm, like, sharing stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is my experience as a kid in a Black family and all that stuff. And, like, being able to share that, and her being so accepting and validating and being like, yep, I saw the same thing with my kids in the Black side of their family. But I wanted so badly to get them the help they needed. And, my daughter teaches special ed now at the same school. So we make sure that we know exactly what to talk about when we're requesting accommodations for my son. And also, too, hearing that she had a Black autistic son who also had the same style as me made me so happy. Because, on one hand, it's like, oh, white people tend to compliment me a lot more on my clothes. I don't think I've ever gotten a compliment from Black people about the way that I dress in person. Usually they look at me like, where are you from? But this woman has always given me these compliments. And so it's usually white people who do. So I was like, oh, okay. But to know that she has a Black son and a Black daughter, and she supports them having this type of style and being autistic, and she's so open and validating to her children, it made me feel so happy to hear somebody talk about that, because it's kind of healing in a way to see how things can change for people, and what it means to have, love and support from your parents. It was a really, really nice conversation. Another thing that I am proud of myself for doing is I did my hair, like, middle of the week last week. And I didn't know what I was doing. I started playing in my hair, which is a huge thing. I was playing in my hair. I wasn't being anxious about it. I wasn't being stressed out about it. I was messing around and doing stuff. And I realized as I went to take it down that it did not look anything like what I was picturing in my head. So I literally sat on one of my meetings and I started doing my hair. I started twisting it up like this to kind of, like, fix what I had done to it. And I had my little curlers. I'll show you the curlers that I have. So, like, these little spongy things, I had those hanging on my hair in all different colors. And I joined a team meeting. And I was like, well, guys, sorry, I'm having a bad hair day. I'm having my camera off while I fix my hair. Have all these curlers and stuff in my hair. And they were like, Minu, turn on the camera. Like, we don't care. Like, you're sure you look fine. And I turned on the camera and they was like, actually, that looks kind of cute. And I was like, oh, thank you. So I left my camera on while I, finished doing my hair. And everybody was so chill about it. Everybody was like, yeah, whatever. And we just talked about, all the stuff that we had to talk about on that meeting. And it was fine. Nobody gave me any weird vibes. No one looked at me sideways for looking unprofessional or any of the things that my anxiety tells me people are going to say or do or think about me. It didn't happen. I even had one moment where I made kind of like I guess you call it off-color joke. And then I got scared that I might have offended somebody. So I messaged the person afterwards to let them know, like, hey, this wasn't about you. But I am standing on business because it is accurate what I said. But I just, in case it offended you, I don't want you to feel that way. And they were like, yeah, whatever. I thought what you said was funny. And I was like, oh, okay. Because my therapist has been teaching me about the power of just saying things. When you're a people pleaser, you don't feel like you can just say things. Like you feel like you have to curate every word that comes out of your mouth. And that's always been very hard for me. And it causes me to freeze and shut down because I get overwhelmed with the thoughts that I want to say, but I feel like I can't say them. So then I just end up shutting down and not saying anything. And so my therapist has been pushing me more and more to be like, just say it. Both of my therapists, because my main therapist has ADHD and I call her my hair therapist. She has ADHD and autism. And so she doesn't even tell me, she doesn't curate anything that I say. She's just like, you can say that. There's nothing wrong with you saying that. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying stuff to see what will happen when I just say stuff. And she was like, and so it's actually been well received. Another cool thing that I did was I went to Costco today and I returned some stuff, which always seems more nerve-wracking than it should be because Costco's really good about just taking the shit. Like, they don't care. You bring back the food, you ate half of it, you be like, I don't like it. And they'll be like, okay. Like, it shouldn't be nerve-wracking, but it's always scary for some reason. And I returned some stuff, and then I was like, what's the return policy on food? And he was like, oh, what's wrong with it? I was like, it just don't taste good. Like, I don't, honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not good. And he was like, you can bring it back. We don't care. And I was like, oh, I could have did that today. I could have brought it, but I didn't think about it. He's like, yeah, next time you come, just bring it back. There's no time limit. We'll just compost it if it's, if we can't donate. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was walking around and I was trying to find windshield wipers. I haven't replaced my windshield wipers in 2 years. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me which windshield wipers I should have been buying. So I walked all the way back over to customer service, asked them to look it up for me in the system. And they were like, yeah, you bought this stuff back in 2022. And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I ain't replaced these motherfuckers in a while. Okay. And I'm still driving out here, just looking through it, but yeah, he tells me what to get. I go over there, I'm searching, and other people are also searching. And I end up striking up conversations with the people who are also searching. Cause I'm like, hey, you got a 26 back there? She was like, nah, 26 is what I'm looking for. I was like, oh man. So I look a little bit. Another lady comes up. She's like, they got the 26. And I was like, no, they don't have the 26. And so I only had one of the windshield wipers I needed. And I decided to just go and ask. I said, let me just find someone. I went over back to customer service and I said, hey, thanks for looking up that stuff for me. I found one, but you ain't had no 26s back there. And he was like, no 26s? I was like, nah. Do you think you can search in the back or something? He was like, yeah, sure. And he calls the lady and she's in the back, loading docks. And she's like, yeah, we got some 26s back here. You need one? And they're like, yeah, bring it up here to customer service. And they bring it to me. And as I'm ringing it up, because I'm like, I really don't want to get back in these long lines. Can y'all please just charge me for these 2 windshield wipers? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And as I'm doing this, the lady I saw earlier walks by. She's like, oh, did you find a 26? And I was like, yes, I talked to customer service and they were able to get me one. And she's like, I'm going to go over there right now. Thank you. And I was like, I could have had my headphones on and just been ignoring everybody, but decided to not be that person. But I was able to have these conversations with random people so naturally. And I think that's part of the reason why I like this new area, because outside of 2 racist people, both of which who I reported and I ain't seen since, and not at Costco, I mean, but just in the entire area that I'm in, I've only spoken to two racist white people, and I've reported them both to their respective companies. Um, People here look at me like everybody else. And I may be surrounded by white people and a few Latino and a few people who I'm not sure what they are. They might be Native American or something. I can't place everybody's race like that. But like, you know, a couple Asian people, a couple Latino people. People here look at me like I am just everybody else. You know, and not just people in customer service types roles, just like regular people I run into at the grocery store. And I dress like this. I'm walking around literally in the Friday the 13th with some Japanese on it. Like, I always felt like when I went places, I had to dress like whatever the dominant group was there. So I felt like if I went into a Whole Foods, I had to dress like a white woman that shop at Whole Foods. If I went to Target, I had to shop at some I have to dress like somebody who shops at Target. If I went to the hood, I had to dress like somebody who was from the hood, or they wouldn't believe me that I was from the hood and they would be rude to me. And I've always just kind of had that anxiety, and it's not like it's been like not proven, you know what I mean? Like, I have gone places where people in my previous city where people looked at me like, "What are you doing here? You want something from here? That's what you want?" And I'm like, yeah, I eat stuff from here. You know, I like to buy stuff. And it's so uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. And I would go places and I would feel awkward. Like, people are looking at me, like they're staring at me, like they're judging me, like I can't dress the way I want to because other people don't like how I look. And also ties into the trauma part of it too, right? Like, you grow up, especially if you grow up in a black household, there's this whole thing about who let you out the house looking like that. You know what I mean? So you can't accept yourself for who you are. You can't have your own like unique style. You can't experiment with your hair. You can't experiment with your clothes because you have to fit in with the people around you. And so I would have so much anxiety about like all of that. All of that. But over and over again in this new place, I go places and it's just like, yeah, person over there, lady over there, whatever. You know, and it's it's really nice. It's really nice to finally get to a point where I'm around people and I don't have to curate myself. You know, it's good to have a manager who is willing to give me the constant reassurance that you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. People are saying good things about you. So if you recall, and these videos aren't up anymore, but I used to post some videos about a manager I had who would be like, people are talking about you. And I'd be like, saying what? And they'd be like, I can't tell you, but they're talking about you. Like, with all of that, all of the face, and it just gives you anxiety and you feel bad. And you hate it. Yeah, I hate that too. But where I am now, people are like, yeah, people are saying great things about you. They love the work you're doing. They like how you communicate, you know, and having stuff like that is a huge, huge accomplishment. And I would not have had any of this if I didn't have one, therapy, two, getting the fuck away from my family. I know that's hard for a lot of people because it's hard out here. It's hard to get a job to make enough money to be financially independent from your caretakers. I get it, and I do not judge because that shit is hard. It's not easy. It's not a I did it so you can do it too type situation. It is very, very difficult, especially when you are set up to fail. And a lot of people with trauma are set up to fail. And a lot of people with autism are not given the support they need to succeed. So it is incredibly hard. And I don't want to take away from that from anybody. However, I do want to say there are some things that can make it a little bit better. And even if you could never get financially independent from someone, finding ways to get that emotional support, if not from a therapist, from an online community, then do that. Because I never want people to feel the way that I used to feel. Even now, I've been in therapy my whole life. I've been in therapy my whole life. Since I was a child, I have been in therapy. And I really feel like only in the past 2-3 years that I can really look back and be like, damn, I've actually done stuff. I've actually had accomplishments. Another thing that helps me too is I have like a daily accomplishments. It's not a journal physically, but it's like a digital one that I go in and I'm just like, my accomplishments for today. My accomplishments are simple things. It's I put the dishes in the dishwasher. It's I cooked something. Even if it's me putting stuff in the air fryer, I cooked something. I ate vegetables. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. It's something like I made small talk with somebody at the grocery store. My accomplishment journal is all very, very simple things. I don't wait anymore. I used to, but I don't wait anymore until I've done some huge, huge thing to be like, oh, I actually accomplished something. I literally every day try to find something I accomplished. I can say something like, I rested today. I watched a movie today. I played a video game today. I walked outside today. And those are my accomplishments. And your accomplishments can be small things too, because those are the things that really are going to help you like feel better about yourself, because we live in a culture that says you have to be productive about everything. And you have to always be doing something. You have to always be doing big things. You have to, by this age, you should be doing this and you should be doing that by that age. And you should have this much money saved and you should be married and you should have kids and you should have a job and you shouldn't live with your parents and like all of that bullshit. It's not realistic. You have to find what works for you. And what's worked for me has been trying to do small everyday things that I can look back and say, okay, I did something today. Because I'll forget every good thing that I've ever done. And I will still go back and go to my therapist and be like, I haven't done anything. I haven't accomplished anything. You know what I mean? I will still do that. But being able to reward yourself for doing hard things, like going outside, like being in a place like Costco without headphones and actually being able to interact with people without feeling overwhelmed. Or sometimes I go to a restaurant with my headphones. Most of the time I go to a restaurant with my headphones now. I do not go without my headphones because I can get overwhelmed. But I want to enjoy restaurants too. I want to enjoy eating fun food and having drinks and all that stuff. I take my headphones. And it took my therapist saying it several times for me to not be ashamed of the fact that I wear headphones in public. Not just when I'm out on the walk, but when I'm at a restaurant. Sometimes when I'm getting groceries. And I don't be playing no music or nothing. I just need silence. I took my cats to the vet. That's an accomplishment. Some people don't take their cats to the vet at all. They don't take care of them. And then they look crazy when they die at 5. Like, all of it's an accomplishment. I edited a video. I'm recording this video right now. That is an accomplishment for me. And it's going to go in my accomplishment journal that I did something. And then I can feel proud about it. And then I can go to my therapist and be like, here's a list of all the things that I've been doing. And that's a huge mindset shift that is hard to have when you're in survival mode. But even surviving is an accomplishment too. Making it through another day is an accomplishment too. And I want you guys to keep that in mind as you go through these really difficult times. It's difficult for everybody. But especially people with trauma, especially people who are neurodivergent, it feels like the world is just increasingly unsafe and what's another word? It basically feels like you can't win in a world like this. You know what I mean? Like the type of person you have to be, the type of support and backing you have to be what is considered successful by today's standards is so unattainable for people like us. But that doesn't mean that we can't also have success and we can't also have wins and accomplishments. We just have to shift the way we think about it. And that's what my therapist told me too. I have to shift the way I conceptualize what is success, what is winning, what is surviving, what is thriving, what is existing. And I've been working on that consistently because I love therapy homework. And it's actually been helping a lot. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Apologies for the long video. I know y'all hate long videos. Well, some of you hate long videos. And some of you love to just put me on in the background and listen to me talk. But I do appreciate you guys listening to me talk about this. I know it's easy for me to get on here and say something angry and frustrated. And I did have a video that I was going to upload that was me just being angry and frustrated. But that time has passed, because like everything, those moments do pass, and you have a moment where you don't feel as angry, as frustrated, and you want to celebrate something positive. So I wanted to share something positive with you guys today. So thank you so much for listening. As I always say, take care of yourself because you deserve it. Drink your water, eat your food. My cats are going crazy in the other room. Oh my God. Yeah, let me go get these damn cats. You take care of yourself because you deserve it. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.